It's an actual winning streak for the New Orleans Pelicans after two big performances from CJ McCollum. Let's just be happy for a moment because we needed that, and there was an unfortunate injury that could be worrisome. I have updates for you in today's episode of Locked On Pelicans. Let's go.
You are Locked On Pelicans, your daily New Orleans Pelicans podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to another edition of Locked On Pelicans, the daily podcast covering your favorite team, the New Orleans Pelicans and NBA, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, available wherever you get your podcast and available on YouTube. I'm your host, Pelicans Insider, credential member of the media, Jake Madison, at NOLA Jake on Twitter. Here with y'all on this Monday, the Pelicans are 2-0 over the weekend. Both over the Wizards, doesn't matter. We'll take any wins we can get here. And big performances from CJ McCollum that I want to break down and put in a little bit of a larger context for you. We're going to look at Trey Murphy leaving the second game late in that one with an ankle injury and what that could mean for the team going forward. And then Jose Alvarado returned, and on Sunday, you really saw his impact. We're going to break it all down in today's episode of Locked On Pelicans. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel, and now new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed win or lose. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. And of course, thank you for making Locked On Pelicans your first listen today and every day. We're here Monday through Friday, the number one Pelicans podcast, covering everything you want to know about this Pelicans team. So please subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Join over 10,000 Pelicans fans on YouTube as well. And make sure you are an everydayer. That means you're listening Monday through Friday. And what we're going to talk about, particularly in the second part of today's show, is really important for the future of the team. And that's why that Trey Murphy injury, if it keeps him out for extended time, could be really rough. But we'll look at that a little bit later. You're going to want to start tuning in daily, again, if you haven't already, because of all the losing. And look, I completely understand. So if you're an everydayer, let me know in the comments down below. And by the way, if you ever see me in the Smoothie King Center out elsewhere, say hi. I'm happy to talk Pels with y'all. It was great seeing a lot of people back in the Smoothie King Center on Friday. And on Friday, one person really showed up, and that was CJ McCollum here. 50 points on the night, tying a career high. Freaking narc refs, man, overturning a three that he made, ruling it a 2, dropping him from 51, which would have set his career high, dropping him down to just tying it, which is super annoying. But what a night he had. 50 points on the night on 27 shot attempts. He was 18 from 27, 10 of 16 from 3. Making 10 3-pointers in a game is absolutely absurd. 3 rebounds, 2 assists, just 1 turnover. He was flat out incredible in this game. The shooting from him was really important. And I tweeted this out after the game, and I'm going to encourage you after both of these wins here to just enjoy the moment a little bit. Just enjoy the moment a little bit here, because this is only the 6th and 7th win of the Pelicans season. They are not a good team. Now, maybe we'll see if that changes in a little bit, but they have been struggling. And we haven't seen wins. They won 1 game in the month of December. Winning is fun. Winning was kind of needed for the city right now after what happened on New Year's Day. And you could feel a small sense of like catharsis in the building as people were really rooting for CJ to go out and play like he did. So we could talk about, well, it's just the Wizards. That doesn't mean anything. It doesn't help them in the standings. In fact, it hurts them tanking. You could. But you know what? When wins are so tough to come by in what's feeling like a lost season, enjoy them when they can and just enjoy the small things. You know, we could talk, does this increase CJ's trade value? You know, and look, we could. And I probably will later in the week. I'm just not going to do it today. I have a trade that involves him and Ingram going to Miami for Jimmy Butler and Duncan Robinson. But let's just enjoy this moment. It was fun in the Smoothie King Center. And even in years like this, when I hear people go like, why even go to games and things like that? You go to games for moments like that. That was fun. The entire Smoothie King Center chanting CJ, giving him a standing ovation as he checked out. And that dude looked exhausted. It was a close game. They didn't run away with it until pretty much towards the end, but for 3 quarters, at least, longer than that, it was a really tightly contested game, and you did not know if the New Orleans Pelicans were going to win. CJ gave his all in that game. He was dripping sweat. He looked physically exhausted in that one because he'd been playing so much recently too. So for him to go out there and play like he did and give that level of effort and get the Pelicans just their 6th win of the season, finally getting more victories than the New Orleans Saints have, enjoy that moment. Cheer it up in there. It was fun being in there. If you weren't there and watching it on TV or not watching it on, well, that's okay, but you missed out. That's why you go to games. That's why we love this. That's why every day on this show, no matter what happens, I'm excited because I like basketball and I like these moments. And I can appreciate some of the little things. And you saw it in this game. He was awesome in this one. He was great in the next game too. The 110-98 win over the Wizards on Sunday. CJ McCollum with 25 points, 6 of 11 shooting. He's made 16 threes the past 2 games here. He was fantastic. And I actually thought after the game, he had some really interesting comments too about the trade rumors. And he said something that kind of gives you an indication of maybe where the Pelicans are in terms of moving him or not moving him when it comes to it. But also during these games, you actually saw, beyond just CJ, the team playing well. Again, it's the Wizards. We can put that asterisk on it. Sure. Take what you can get because even against bad teams, they haven't always played well. Every starter was in double figures on Friday. Every starter scored at least double figures on Sunday as well. That is what you want to see from this team. Everyone contributing to these victories. You needed to see something like this. Look, DeJounte Murray with 11 points, 12 assists, just 1 turnover on Friday in the win over the Wizards. On Sunday, 14 points, 10 rebounds, 12 assists, 4 turnovers. You can live with that given how he's been playing. He's starting to right the ship a little bit better after really, really struggling, in my opinion, for this team. It's the first triple-double he's had as a Pelican. It's the Pelicans' first triple-double this season. You can start to see a glimpse of like, oh yeah, there is talent here. And while the season has gone off the rails, and it absolutely has, there is some talent here that they're just having trouble figuring out how to get it all working together. If you add Ingram, if you add Zion, could that have elevated this team? And the answer is probably, yeah. We went into the season thinking very highly of them. And those 2 injuries particularly have really hurt them. But those guys should be back, at least Zion, sooner rather than later. And that's an important thing. And something I've been hammering if you're an everydayer the past week or so. But now that might have taken a bit of a twist with what happened in the game against the Washington Wizards on Sunday with Trey Murphy leaving the game with an ankle injury. And that is something that, yeah, definitely should worry us here. Not just for wanting to see Trey out there, but for another reason. And I'll tell you what that is. That's coming up here next in today's episode of Locked On Pelicans. Today's episode of Locked On Pelicans is brought to you by Prize Picks. Basketball season is heating up, and there's no better way to get real money action while watching your favorite NBA stars than with Prize Picks. So whether you're a diehard fan or just love some friendly competition, Prize Picks makes it fun and easy to turn your basketball knowledge into cash. So here's how it works. You pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. You think LeBron's going to drop 30 points. Maybe Luka's going to go for more than 8 assists when he's healthy. Or CJ McCollum goes for more than 30. Prize Picks lets you make your predictions and put your money where your mouth is in just 60 seconds. It's really fun to look at the numbers from these guys, pick more or less than that, and be like, I have a feeling CJ was going to carry that form over. You would have won money here. So now's the perfect time to join. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. That's right. There's no need to win to get the bonus. It's guaranteed with Prize Picks. $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. When you download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA, Prize Picks, run your game. And thank you for making Locked On Pelicans your first listen today and every day. We're here Monday through Friday, the #1 Pelicans podcast, covering everything you want to know about this Pelicans team. So please subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Join over 10,000 Pelicans fans on YouTube as well and become an everydayer. That means you listen Monday through Friday to Locked On Pelicans. And now go sign up for the Locked On Pelicans daily newsletter. Your favorite podcast here has a newsletter. We're introducing the Locked On Pelicans daily newsletter, one stop for ultimate team and league coverage, delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. LockedOnDaily.com, and start your day with the all-new free Locked On Pelicans newsletter. All right. Oh, and thank you for making... No, we just did... I'm a little late on Sunday. So, I was going to do the second listen. I'll save it for the next one. It's going to be Locked On Saints. You know that. I hung out with Ross Jackson over the weekend. I asked him a very big, important question, which was cool. So let's get into the Trey Murphy injury. This happened late in the game against the Washington Wizards, because we can't have nice things, apparently. But Trey Murphy hurt his left ankle coming down, fighting for a rebound, did not return to this game. New Orleans was in control all game long. So him not returning, I don't know if that's the biggest concern. I think they kind of realized where things were and that, okay, we don't need to risk any sort of injury. Let's get it looked at. Let's probably ice it, elevate it, all that stuff. And you don't need to stress when it comes to Trey Murphy. He was good in this game against the Washington Wizards too. 22 points, 8 of 19 shooting. The efficiency wasn't quite there, but 4 of 10 from 3 was really great. 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, a block, and just 2 fouls. He's been playing really, really well for New Orleans. You're kind of seeing him blossom into what you could almost call like a number 2 scorer right now, at times number 1, depending. He has played exceptionally well for the team this season, especially coming back from that injury, and also like dealing with other little injuries and things. This ankle, by the way, is the same one that he hurt a couple of games ago as well when he came down on it, which we don't want to see. But overall, you're seeing Trey Murphy play particularly good basketball. He had 22 points in this one, 17 against the Wizards at home, that 34-point game against Miami. Couple games before that, he had 35 against Memphis as well, basically averaging over 20 points, more or less, since he's really come back from the injury that he has suffered here. And he's looking pretty good. Over the last 11 games, he's averaging almost 24 points per game. He's shooting 39% from 3. He's making 3.5 threes per game. He's getting to the line. He's making those. 4.5 rebounds, 3.2 assists. You're seeing better playmaking from him. 1 steal per game and 0.7 blocks. Like, he's playing particularly well and really elevating what he's trying to do here out there on the court and be what the Pelicans need him to be. So losing him for any period of time is going to hurt the team in terms of like winning games, obviously, right? But the bigger thing to me is, and this is the point that I've been hammering for a week or two now, and I think it's really important, is the Pelicans are getting an extended training camp preseason. They're getting a big jump on the 2025-2026 season. A big jump on it. And this is something that you've heard me say is, when Zion comes back, your starting lineup, and CJ's maybe going to complicate this, right? Should be DeJounte Murray, Herb Jones, Trey Murphy, Zion, and Misi. Because that seems to be your 5 guys going forward. It gets Trey in the starting lineup, which we've wanted. It keeps Herb Jones out there too. Those are guys that are going to be on the team, let's say, in 3 seasons, if you're building around Zion. So if those are going to be the guys, start getting run with them now. Build that chemistry now between all of them. That's a group that has not played together, really. Has not played at all together this season, actually. So we want to see that lineup. And you need to just get that run. Here's the thing, though. It gives you data. If it doesn't work, you can pivot and you can do something differently. Or if you're like, oh man, they're blowing teams out, or that starting lineup is killing it, you know you have something to go into next season tweaking around the edges with that. But if it sucks, cool, let's blow it up. Let's do something completely different. At least we will have answers, we hope, in a way that we have never had before. That's been the biggest problem with this whole era, is those injuries of like, it's a big what if. It's always been a what if, and you can sell yourself on ideas going into next season, and you're not wrong for doing that. Of they'll be healthy on paper, it looks good, and then it gets hurt, and we just never actually get a true answer. You have an opportunity to get an answer. You know, they probably should start CJ with how he's been playing, right? Absolutely should. He's playing outstanding. But if he's not going to be here in 2 years, figure it out with this group and then maybe CJ can start next year, or you can insert him into the starting lineup if that group doesn't work, what have you. You have opportunities to just kind of learn when it comes to this sort of thing. Get rid of some of those what ifs and have actual answers. But if Trey's not there, it starts to fall apart again. And that's what's so frustrating about this. We don't have an update right now on what the severity of the ankle injury is. Trey has really fought through some things this year, and I would imagine he maybe misses a game or two, hopefully at the most, unless it's more significant. It didn't quite look that way. But you hope that he's going to be okay, that he's going to do well, come back soon, because we want to see it with that group. It's not the same if it's DeJounte Murray, CJ McCollum, Herb Jones, Zion Williamson, and Messi. While I don't hate that idea because you get the shooting from CJ when you would have it from Trey, but it's different positions, different size, could impact your defense and those things. I want to get some answers on this team, and I think you probably want to have some answers as well, and we know what direction that they should go in. Before Friday's game, I was talking with Will Guillory for a while. We'll get him on this week or next week to talk about this. And he and I were chatting about this exact thing of like, you know what? Like the next 3 months might be the most important time that this team has ever had. They might be the most important 3-4 months that this team has ever had in the Zion Williamson era right now. That's a wild thing to say. And part of it is like every year is, we say this when it comes to like this year's the most important year for the Pelicans. Literally every year is, right? Since they drafted Anthony Davis, every year has been the most important year for this franchise with figuring out the direction. This year is no different. It looked like it was not going to be that. But now all of a sudden, you're in position where you can just know what your future is or isn't. And sometimes getting a no or removing options from it is a really important thing. And we'll have a sense of the direction, but not if Trey's not playing. We got to see him out there with this group. So we really hope that this injury is not that significant and that he won't miss much time. And that once Zion comes back, which is maybe going to be in a week or so, y'all, it's coming soon from talking to people at the arena on Friday. Get ready for that. That he, you can just see that. We want answers. Like, that's the most important thing. So all of a sudden, this team goes from like, yeah, you don't need to actually watch to you should, because we're going to really be looking at things that are going to have massive impacts on the future. If DeJounte Murray doesn't put it together, like, I don't know if you can keep him necessarily next year as your starting point guard. Like, he's got to show it now. And we'll, of course, talk about that here on Locked On Pelicans. And Zion's coming back soon, so if you've been a lapsed Locked On Pelicans listener, a lapsed Pelicans fan right now, it's okay. I completely understand. But now's going to be a time to start paying close attention again really soon to some of the little things these guys are doing. And then once Zion comes back, how can they put that together around him? And that's going to be the important thing, because if that is the guy that they are conceivably building around, and right now that is the indication, could change, that is going to be it's just going to have massive impacts on the team next season, which good. Use this opportunity right now. You don't need winning games. Doesn't matter. It's nice. If we can get wins, let's get them. But ultimately, it should be about next season basically being like mathematically eliminated from the postseason already. I want to get a jump on next year because I want to see this team be good, and you need to know what direction you should go in. And we're finally going to maybe have that answer. There are right now, to look at it, 11 games out of the 10th seed. Whew, that's pretty rough. 11 games out of the 10th seed. They are 13 and a half games out of being tied for the 6th seed too. So playoffs aren't happening. But you can get a jump on the next season, and I think that should be the priority for New Orleans going forward. So coming up next, Jose Alvarado return. Let's not forget about that. That was really great to see. Let's break down his play and what we saw from him coming up here next in today's episode of Locked On Pelicans. Today's episode of Locked On Pelicans is brought to you by FanDuel. From big upsets to game-winning drives, the NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel. And right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. The FanDuel app gives you everything you need for live bets, same game parlays, and so much more. Look, you make a killing betting against New Orleans right now, the Pelicans, as long as they're not playing the Washington Wizards. They have a couple of tough games coming up. I still don't think they've really figured things out just yet, though you're seeing elevated play. I'd still be fading this team a little bit right now. So just go to FanDuel.com and join today and get started with $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com and get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed after you place your first $5 bet. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. And thank you for making Locked On Pelicans your first listen today and every day. We're here Monday through Friday, the #1 Pelicans podcast covering everything you want to know about this Pelicans team. So please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Join over 10,000 Pelicans fans on YouTube as well. And now for your second listen, Locked On Saints. Yeah, season is over. Matt Nagy is a head coach. Ross Jackson, Locked On Saints, is going to make sense of everything black and gold for y'all. I actually hung out with him and Sharif Ishak of WDSU this weekend, which was a lot of fun. Trying to get the inside scoop on the head coaching search. How long will it take was a question I had for him. He was like, I'll tell you. And he's going to tell you on Locked On Saints too, because he doesn't keep anything a secret there. Go check out Locked On Saints for everything black and gold. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So let's wrap up today's show. Let's be happy. Jose Alvarado returning for the New Orleans Pelicans. It was really great to see him out there. You could see he was just trying. Got a standing ovation when he checked into the game on Friday at the Smoothie King Center. The crowd knew he was back. They were really happy just to see him out there. He is on about a 20 minutes per game minutes restriction right now. 5 points off the bench. 3 assists, 2 rebounds, 3 steals, including a really, really fun sequence where you had Jordan Hawkins with a chase down block. The Wizards kind of recovered the ball, and then Jose just immediately stole it and then put up an alley-oop lob. I think it was to Trey on the other end, where you just see that energy that Jose Alvarado brings. And then you look at him in the game on Sunday, and again, the shooting isn't there, the scoring isn't there. He played very few minutes in this one, 3 points, 3 assists. But that second unit just has a different feel when he is leading the charge there. This is someone that really just brings a level of energy that you don't see anyone else add to this team when they're out there on the court, and that is an okay thing. You know, he was a plus 16 off the bench in Friday's win, which was, again, a close game until it wasn't. They won 132-120, and it wasn't until maybe midway through the fourth that they really started to pull away. So getting a guy that has that energy out there is massively important for this team. One of the things you've heard me talk about and others talk about, at least going into the year, was they want to play with pace. They want to play fast. They want to get in transition and run and push the pace even after made baskets. And they haven't been able to do that a ton this year. But you saw them doing that with Jose Alvarado out there on the court. He looked really good for this team and just brings them that jolt of energy that they had very much been missing for his time out. You know, for him to get back and make an impact coming back from a hamstring injury like that, you knew the vibes were going to be high with CJ McCollum, with Jose Alvarado out there on the court. It was really wonderful to see. Look, we're looking at little things this season. The big picture is figuring out stuff for next year. That's my new goal for the team. Actually, that's a good show idea. What are the goals and what we want to see going forward? Thank you for working that out with me, y'all. So you're looking for little things. Misi's development, and he looked good in both of these games. In the second game, by the way, against the Washington Wizards, he went 8 of 8 from the free throw line after missing that massive one, a couple of days ago. He looked fantastic in this one, outplaying guys like Jonas Valanciunas and Alex Sarr at times. Sarr is a much different type of player than Misi is, but still looking particularly good like that has been a wonderful thing for this team. So Misi going out and developing and continuing to show us things. He's becoming a really good lob threat, pick and roll threat, which is what's been my favorite thing, because you want a big that can do that, and the team just has not had that type of player in a while. Trey kind of continuing to develop and grow as that offensive scorer and hopefully playmaker too is a really encouraging sign. Just getting DeJounte Murray kind of stabilized and not actively harming the team like he was, that's a real important thing as well. So overall, things are trending in the correct direction, I think, for the New Orleans Pelicans. So we're looking for positives right now. Jose coming back and just bringing that jolt of energy definitely is a big positive, in my opinion. And I'm just happy to see him back out there on the court. You know, when you get Zion back and you can run a more competent starting lineup with at least one big major scoring threat on there, what is this team going to look like? That's what we're going to be kind of focusing on going forward. We'll talk trades for CJ. We'll talk trades with Brandon Ingram. I'll do the Jimmy Butler show. You might have hated that idea initially. There's more logic to it and more things to it than you might realize. We'll break that down on the show. We'll look at Misi. We'll look at everything here on Locked On Pelicans because it's what we do. We're here every day, your team every day. So that's going to do it for this episode of Locked On Pelicans. I'm excited for this week's worth of shows. As always, I'm your host, Jake Madison, at NOLA Jake on Twitter. And I will be back with y'all next time. This is the Locked On Pelicans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. See y'all tomorrow.